Some pretty seismic news dropping on Wednesday, not just as it applies to the United States, but this is a global phenomenon. This, after all, we are in the midst of a football financial feeding frenzy. People want to spend money, and they want to spend money in the United States. And La Liga president, the first division of Spain, Javier Tebas, says he wants league matches in the United States in 2025. Just around the corner. The 2025-2026 season. And this follows FIFA dropping from a landmark lawsuit with Relevant Sports, who has been at it for a long time trying to get big-time international soccer games that matter, not friendlies, not preseason games, that matter here in the United States. Who can forget the infamous Girona game versus Barcelona? Was that 2018 that was supposed to be in Miami? That was Relevant Sports. I know the people over there. They're doing good work, man. And they've been at this. This isn't just like they've put in the homework to try and lure this across. They tried to get a couple Ecuadorian teams to play because they know there's a demand here. And that is the interesting thing, certainly, amongst many interesting things, in what we found out today. And we will answer those questions on whether it's a good idea and when it's going to happen, or whether it's going to happen. I probably could answer that. I think you know it. It's going to happen. And we'll talk about all of that today on the Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast. We have Aaron Timms of Guardian US, who wrote an article about this. We'll talk about specifically the exporting, if we can call it that, the farming, of Premier League games here to the United States and why it's a good or bad idea. It's a little different than what we'll be talking about here, but check that out on the Soccer OG podcast, where all podcasts are available. It's out right now. You can watch and listen to both. Like and subscribe us here. Hit that button. Hit it. Hit it with conviction. So let us talk more about what we heard today. So this stood out to me. Maybe it's common knowledge. But the fact you're hearing the president of La Liga say it, and a lot of other places are thinking this, is pretty outstanding. An official match in the U.S. will strengthen our position in the North American market, which is the second market for La Liga after Spain. Those are pretty seismic words, man. Second biggest market. He didn't say South America, which he probably could have said. USA is bigger than probably the whole continent. Brazil. Didn't say the Middle East, didn't say the Far East, didn't say Australia, didn't say Antarctica. He said the U.S., didn't say Mexico. The U.S., that's not lip service. Something's happening here with regards to the spending of money that is making soccer massive. Now, we look at the growth of sport in so many ways. How our national team fares, how many people are watching on television, how we are developing young players. Realistically, how we should be looking at is how much money is being spent on the sport here and abroad. And the answer to that question is oodles. Tons, lots of money. The Premier League, I mean, first of all, this is no surprise that this was coming to our doorstep, and it is 100% going to happen. I'll let you know what I think about it and whether I think it's a good idea. Look at the Premier League. The 50%, if not, or maybe around that, 40-50% of the ownerships just in the Premier League are American. Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Everton, Burnley, Liverpool, Man United, the big boys. Did I say Arsenal? Arsenal. Lower division teams, Leeds in the Championship, in the League One, in League Two. We have Wrexham. I mean, we talked about that a week ago on a video here. And the ownership is in so many interesting ways, including this one. I mean, for crying out loud, the 30,000 came to see Wrexham play Man United at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego last summer. I had a friend who was at the game. He could not believe it. He goes, dude, there's 20,000 people in Wrexham shirts, which is kind of made my heart sink. I'm sorry. Because it's kind of like these Trekkies at the Star Trek convention. You like something because of a TV show. Am I wrong? Anyway, I'm not here to hit up Wrexham fans because what they've done is amazing. And they've been importing games on the preseason. Mexico imports games as well. But we haven't seen it like this where it's an actual competitive game. Wrexham, by the way, is going to play Chelsea at Levi's Stadium this summer. That's a 70,000-seat stadium. Unbelievable. So the English interests are there. In Italy, you have American ownership at Roma, Milan, Atalanta, Fiorentina. In Spain, you don't really have much, just Mallorca in the first division, but that's going to change because, that is why Javier Tebas and La Liga are getting into it. They want money. They want money at the gates. They want money on their TV revenue. They want money in new ownership. And it's worked in England. So Spain is just trying to beat everyone to the punch, which I respect them for that. And this is what I'm trying to get across here, because when the traditionalists come in here, if you don't do it because it doesn't fit culturally, someone else is going to do it. And there will be regrets because money drives it. Money has driven the Premier League. Money has driven the Premier League, all that American ownership. And while I'll say some things on behalf of the English fans because I think they're spectacular on how they protect their game. And I wish us American fans could take a page out of their book because they're doing it the right way. We are screwing up time and time again. But investment, whether they want it or not, and I'm sure they do based on the product, has made their league astronomical. It's the best league in the world. It is better than the Champions League. And what's happened is you have the best players playing there. And that, well, it hasn't helped English coaching. It has. But, the English head coach has been moved out because the best coaches in the world are in England. But the English players benefited a lot. I mean, these young players from Phil Foden and Cole Palmer and Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka and all these players are benefiting because they're English and they get all of these resources to them. And at a lesser degree, the English coach is going to adapt and get better because they want to be part of this as well. All of that money has made these English fans whole because they're proud. I mean, you have to love it if you're a fan of these clubs. And that is why the world is watching. So I don't know if they had a choice, would they go back to the old days with British players and, not the most imaginative football? I doubt they would. So it's a little bit can't get your cake and eat it too. But let's get back on the rails here. So you look at all that investment, and it happened overnight, it felt like, where you click your fingers and all these ownership groups are American. So we look back to Javier Tebas, and we know that this American marketplace is red hot, and that's why everyone wants a piece of it, and they should have a piece of it. The other side of this is Major League Soccer. I work for MLS. And, Don Garber has come out and said, in so many ways, he's probably not crazy about it, and said that these teams should play in front of their home fans on a regular basis. And I agree with him. But you can't really stop what's coming your way. And will this benefit MLS in the long run? I believe it certainly could. It's more competition. And everyone's saturating the American market. And keep in mind what's happening here over the next few years, right? We have Copa America in 2024. We have the Club World Cup in 2025. We have the World Cup. And there's investment. Gianni Infantino addressed the MLS Board of Governors and invest. And there's a belief that all of this will help MLS, which I think it can. And I don't want to discourage anyone from pursuing the money. And while I'm a little bit hesitant to rubber stamp these games, because for me personally, I think if I had the option, it's a little more expensive, I'd rather save my money and go see one of these English games at that stadium, in that atmosphere, and soak it all in. That's why we became fans of the English game in the first place, because we saw Stamford Bridge, or we saw White Hart Lane, or we saw Upton Park, and now these bigger stadiums, they still maintain that. Because of that Englishness. I'm not here to say anything good about the English. But man, did they created a good product with soccer. It's their number one export in my world. They have created it. I fell in love with it. So many others have. And I think I'd rather do that than watch a game in the U.S. But I wouldn't mind watching a game that matters in the U.S. either. So there is room for all of this. And I think getting back to what Javier Tebas said about being the number 2 market, I think that if he's saying that, that's applying for everyone. Everyone wants, it's a land grab, right? Like in that movie Far and Away with Tom Cruise, it's a land grab. And everyone's putting their flag in whatever plot of land they can find. Although, eventually, instead of a flag, you're plotting giant piles of money. And we've seen it with FIFA. They're all taking up new competitions, and whatever window you have, and by the way, that's an issue here as well, because finding a time to play these games, if it is in fact a 39th game, will be challenging. And agreeing to who is going to play will be challenging. So, but no one's being discouraged here. They are going for it. And again, I want to proceed with caution here because I respect that English game a lot, maybe contrary to what many of you think. A lot of people I was on social media and comparing it to the NFL exporting games and Major League Baseball. In Vegas the other day, the National Rugby League of Australia was playing games there. These are sports that want a bigger piece of the pie. Soccer doesn't need that. Maybe La Liga does it. I'll tell you, the Premier League right now doesn't need it. They don't. I mean, you could always have more money, but they don't need they have a really good product and everyone comes to them right now. But I get it for other leagues. Italy has exported their Super Cup to Saudi Arabia. Spain has done the same. So we have seen the beginning of this process, and they have seen the dollar signs, literally. Now, other leagues, like I mentioned, the NFL coming in there, it's not apples to apples because soccer is king. It's the king of sports. And I want to say this about NFL. And I respect the English fans because the idea of them getting one of their home games exported is a non-starter. They will not stand for it. They will protest. Remember the Super League. They will go to the streets and protest it because it's more than a game. The NFL took some of these games and no one blinked an eye. Hey, Jaguars, we're taking one of your 8 home games. Deal with it. It made me very sad. We as American fans have to push back to our fandom a bit. And not just say, oh, that's okay. We got to be like the English fans. Say, no, no. And the English fans, the last bastion of this happening, without their pushback here, and I don't know about the Spanish fans, and I'm sure they are too, but I think they get it a bit. The English fan is going to be the last bastion in possibly stopping this, but I don't think anything is going to stop it. But I don't like shipping out these games. I don't mind shipping them out, but I don't like the fact that we don't care that they're being shipped out. Home games matter. And the Premier League is a very hot ticket. So that is not apples to apples whatsoever. So we're heading into this new world. It's going to be insane and it's going to happen. But does it help the sport here? I think it does. I think it does. And I have been shocked by these numbers. When you look at the ownership groups, when you look at what these presidents are saying, it is pretty stunning. And when you think of what's going to happen here the next 3 years, whatever variable we count growth, this is the most telling one, right? Everyone wants it. And I have no doubt that these games will come to the U.S. and they will be well attended. Whether it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, or whether it's Eibar, Cadiz. Maybe not the latter, which is maybe what we're getting, because this is going to be a slow rollout. Now, how do I feel about it? Well, I support the 39th game. I support it. I think the American sport fan deserves it. And I think these leagues have the right to earn that money. So I am for this expansion. I am for these exporting games. I would prefer to see a Champions League final come here or a Cup final, something that normally would be on a neutral site that maybe come out here where there'd be a little less pushback. I'd be more up to seeing that. We're getting the Club World Cup, which kind of could be like having a Champions League, so to speak, here in the United States. So there's the progress. But my fear is once you open that box and you say the 39th game and you see what it does financially, once you give these powers of FIFA, whatever it is, La Liga, Premier League, once you give them the keys to be able to take a game, they're not going to stop. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant, because of my respect for the English fan, because of the Englishness of the Premier League, which I enjoy so much. and has drawn me in. And it won't stop. They won't stop at one game. I think everybody knows that. So here we are. Can't stop progress. We move forward. And we'll keep tabs on this story because it's really interesting and it affects everything. And just don't be surprised what you hear. The Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. Like and subscribe us here. And we'll be back this weekend with another video. Check out the pod.